everyone, I'm Hajnalka from Earthster, and many of you know me by the name of Heini. And you are currently watching an Earthster training session that focuses on the new feature updates, and also I'm gonna walk you through the basics of how to use Earthster. So anytime you have a question, please post it in the chat. I'll answer if I'm able to answer the question, or otherwise, we'll answer you later on if you have trickier questions. And let's make this session as interactive as possible through a live event. And for those of you who are watching this session the first time, we do this monthly. And exactly like I mentioned, the idea is that you get to know Earthster a bit so that when you actually have your own user, you're easier able to go ahead and use it. And also I'll walk through the new feature updates that some might influence your workflow. And exactly here, Earthster is an LCA tool that's designed for, how would I say it, for LCA practitioners to be able to do modeling in a really intuitive way, fast and enjoyable. Maybe that's the most important thing. So you don't get a headache when you're building your models. The idea is that you click around and you have a model in minutes. And what makes Earthster special is that we are focusing our newest features on for you to be able to LCAs at scale. So you're able to do, for example, template-based models where you just take one template and use that for your other products that are similar what the template represents. And today I'm going to show you one of those. I think I showed that the last time also. Let me share you my screen. This is how Earthster looks when you have an existing model. What I have here on the left side, what you can see is the cycle scale section. So if I close this, the models always, when you have a model, it opens like this. You see with a blink of an eye the biggest impacts. Where are they coming from? And in this example, this is an aseptic carton. So it's basically a juice box that is supposed to hold juice, a liquid. And the model is based on a template that's according to a PCR, so product category rule for APDs. And look, in this model, you can clearly see that the biggest environmental impact is coming from the raw material supply. So to actually make this happen. And as you can see here, what we have a so-called dynamic bundle called all others. The way when you want to see it, everything under it, is that's actually something that has changed recently. You click here on the icon that says show visualization options. You click there, you suddenly see reset diagram. If I click there, it closes everything. The other one, if you click focus mode, takes off all the unnecessary things. You can focus on fully building on your model. You click again, the navigation items come back. And the last one is the threshold. So before that, I show you how it works. You can zoom in and out depending on your mouse. I have a trackpad, so now it's giving me trouble. And the threshold works in a way that now what you currently see is it hides the 5% of the smallest impact. I said it really in a funny way. So if I put this to 0, it shows everything there is in the model. Let me zoom out a bit like this. You see it a bit better. Hopefully you can see it, because probably you're watching through LinkedIn and that steals some of the space and you have a tiny video in there. Anyway, you're able to do this also when you log in yourself. And as you can see, so the threshold is super useful when you have a really complex model. And I can show you what happens, for example, if you're exploring data with Earthster, you can dig into where is the data coming from. You can dig it deeper and look, this is the first time you see on the process label, it says explore. When you click here, what the system does is fetches everything that this particular process is built of. And this one is an Ecoinvent dataset, market for aluminium, and you click here, and then it fetches everything that's what's inside. And as you can see, there's a lot of things in there, and then the more you explore, the more it spans out, opens up, and you might end up in a situation that you totally don't want to see every single input of your model. And that's the case when you adjust the threshold. Look, this is what I meant, that this is not useful for you to be able to say that where are the biggest environmental impacts coming from. But if you say that, okay, show me the last 5%, 3%, suddenly now everything is visually more pleasing and more understandable. So this is one of the newest things. And the threshold was here already before. The only difference is that now it's a bit hidden. And it is hidden because we will be adding there more functionalities that you will in the future find in there. So the idea is to make sure that you have a clean design that doesn't distract you from the most important thing, which is modeling your LCAs. And related to that, we have a new update also in a really similar spot. In Earthster, all the cycles have, like conceptually, they have a cycle settings section where you find anything related to that you need to, basically the settings of the cycle and related functions. For example, this before the update used to open sideways. Now it opens downwards because we're having more and more items, and like this, it's easier to find them. And as you can see, it starts with notes. Here you keep notes, all of the things that is important for you who is modeling the cycle, and also for anyone else watching or viewing this cycle. So in a way, for example, let's imagine you're the LCA expert, you have created it, and now you're going to share it with your team members to use it, for example, in sales purposes. Especially, for example, this model is designed for that the expert has created them, the cycles, and the sales person is able to use these templates with the customers to adjust and tweak. And let's say that if they change the color of the box, this is how the environmental impact looks like. And that's the whole mentality based on template-based LCA modeling. That's quite unique to Earthster. Anyway, so what I wanted to say, here are the notes. I recommend to use it. It's also good. It's the right place to put all the assumptions you have done for your model. And that way you don't need a separate document where you document all these things. You document it straight away inside the cycle. The next thing is the cycle settings, where you find basic information about your cycle. Here's where you rename your cycle. You can export it. And related to the exports, that's one of our new features. Look, now when you click here, my cycle already has several releases. As you can see, it says release 2. In a moment, I'll explain what is a release. But for now, what I want to show you is that you are able to download your model as a PDF, as a CSV file, a comma separated. So if you're using, for example, Excel, make sure you import it with that it's a comma separated file. Otherwise, it's going to look funny. And you can also export as a JSON. That's useful when you have a system that is you're able to kind of like they talk machine language and they understand each other. So APIs use JSON. Otherwise, I don't recommend it for using for any reporting purposes other than making connections between different apps. But look, you click here, basic export, and what it does, it opens a new tab. Make sure your browser allows Earthster to open new tabs. This model is still in, the PDF version is in development, as you can see. And the good part in this, what I want to mention related to is that if you have specific needs, how your PDF reports should look, please contact us and we can make a custom version for you. That's something based on what your company needs. We are able to do it. So this is a starting point where it's good to explore further. And this is how it looks. So now it's much easier to find all the data. I'm not sure if you have seen before the CSV file that has a lot of data. So this makes many of you users happy. I'm aware of that. But let's go back to Earthster. Meanwhile, I'll close this. Any questions so far? Let me see. At the moment, I don't see any questions on LinkedIn. There is a tiny bit of delay usually between what I'm saying and what you're watching. So I always want to give you a moment of writing questions and thinking. So I will have tiny pauses. Let me see. So this is a model this is how it looks. And now I'm going to reset the diagram so that we are going back to the simple view. Now, so on the left side, next to the name, was the cycle menu. And there you find many important features. On the right side, when you open any of the stages, is what we call the drawer. And every single stage has its own drawer. And this is the place where you build your models. This is where you are actually defining how the model looks like, and you're adding all the inputs needed for your models. And in this case, what you can see here, it has three main bundles based on the product category rules for this EPD, and says A1 raw materials supply, A2 transportation, and then A3 production of packaging. And the order here is based on the biggest environmental impact, but of course you can change it that it orders you based on the name if you prefer that type of view. And now, what is a bundle? A bundle is kind of like a folder, a group of inputs. So if I open this one, you see what's inside there. There's 4 processes. And all these processes are marked with the tag custom. Now, what are custom processes? Let me show you. Custom processes are awesome. I really love them. Custom process behaves a bit similarly to bundles because you can add in their processes. But the main difference between the two is that a custom process is able to calculate anything. Basically, it's the recipe for a certain product. And for example, this one, raw material 1, carton board. So in this custom process, what it says that it's needed to make 1 kilo, look, in the information, to make 1 kilo of carton board, you need solid bleed board production. That's the process itself from Ecoinvent. If you click on it, you can check it from here. Look, it says original cycle, the same name, European region. And when you click here on the information icon, like this, it opens for you the actual information that the database is providing. And as you can see, here you see even the genre tag. This is something new, and many of you will like it. I'll show you in a moment in search what this means. So in Earthster, we have classified the database inputs with different genre tags to help you build better models and to help you search the relevant information. And for example, this one is a material product. There is different versions for energy, processing, many different ones. And this is the data, what you get from Ecoinvent. Some are more elaborate, some are less. And as you can see, when now what you would want to do, so for example, let me show you exactly. This is what you see, that it exists. And there is a new thing also. This is not a new thing, but something that I have not handled yet in these trainings. This particular process now says that it's deprecated. What does that mean? It means that we have recently updated the Ecoinvent database. We used to have 3.6 and now it's 3.9.1. So the latest database version of Ecoinvent. And when any of the processes says deprecated, it means that that particular process does not exist anymore in the latest version. There might be various reasons. Probably there is a better alternative for it. And many times you see this, for example, in mining processes. The old process combined 4 different metal types, and in the latest database version, all those have their own processes. So that's why the system tells you that it's deprecated for you to choose a better one. And where do we do that? So now that we have the database updated, if your cycle has any updates available, you see these tiny little brackets and telling you how many updates there are available. When you click on it, it opens the data sources tab. You can also open it from the cycle settings menu. And what you see here, that I'm using 14 processes from Ecoinvent. It tells me that we have 12 updates and 2 deprecations. When you click on it, it shows you all the inputs your cycle has. And you can see that most of them has an update, of course, because this cycle has not been updated yet. And what I'm able to do now is the next step. What I would do is either go clicking by one, that I trust that, okay, that's the same transport ferry, and just click update all, or one by one. When you want to check it, that what is the new version, or where are you using it in your cycle, look, the mini menu gives you the options of get more information about the process. That shows the cycle summary. What is the database saying? And here you can see everything related to that particular process. Then the other one is where I am using this particular process in my cycle. You click there, it opens the drawer and shows you all the different locations. Many times you might have it only once, but this particular one, it's 4 times inside my model. That means that there's 4 times the same transportation, but it's representing a different transportation. Then the last one is view process as a cycle. So if I click here, the same way as when we were exploring, it opens another tab and then you can see how it looks like. Now, what I would do is let's update them all. Look, we click here, update all. We open this again, click update all. It does this, you refresh your page, and suddenly now it says 9 updates available. And look, all the cycles that have an equivalent in Ecoinvent from the different version has been now updated automatically. Or not automatically, I click to update them all. Then we have 2 left that says deprecated. Let's see what it happens if we click on to swap. You get to the process search view. And here the system is suggesting that probably this is a really good alternative to what it was before. But this is just a suggestion. I've seen many cases where the system suggests you about 25 processes and there's more than 100 available. Because, for example, now most of the energy-related processes, there is, at least in Europe, by country processes. And before, they were just bundled under Europe. So if you don't find with the suggestion what you're looking for, please search. So, for example, this is the suggestion. I start writing carton if I don't believe the system or I'm just curious. And now what it does, so our search is really special compared to other LCA tools. It's fast and intuitive. The idea is that you use multiple keywords, what you're actually looking for. No need to browse into any folders. And the more keywords you add, the more it refines it. And this time, if I, for example, now this is a good example. I could say, how do you write it? Beverage. And then it updates the results. And now I have 41 results. You can filter these results to find better. These are the ones that I mentioned, genres. So here you can see the different genres. And in this case, I'm looking for particularly for a material product. So what I do is I click on the check mark icon here, and it says show only material product. Look, I click here, all the rest disappears. And that way you're able to filter it. But now looks like that my filtering does not want to do it. My user is a bit tricky. I do so many user testing sessions, quality sessions, that sometimes I break the system. That happens when you do quality assurance. Anyway, in this case, we are going to take this particular process. Look, click. We just click add process. What it did is swapped the old one with the new one. So now this is the latest up to date. Let's do the other one with this one also. Click to swap. It shows, as you can see here, there's two options. And now what I would do is I copy the name because I suspect that there might be better versions. Look, there is the rest of version, Europe, all these different type of regions. And with the filtering, you're also able to say that, please don't show me rest of the world. I'm not interested. I'm not interested in Brazil. You put all those filters. It takes them out of your view. And then you say that, yeah, I want this one. You click add process. And now it's swapped. And this is how you keep your data sources up to date. This is true when you're using any database processes, whether it's Ecoinvent, USEIO, or any other ones that are coming soon, or you're utilizing your own cycle, what we call connected cycles. So when you're building your models, you can nest in there your own cycles within each other, and this is the same spot where you update them. If you have your own cycle, it shows up here with the name of your organization, and you're able to update them. Now, how is this all handled? These updates are governed in a way by releases. And this is what I wanted to show you. So we have now updated our model. And as you can see, the environmental impact has changed due to updating the processes. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to issue a release. What it does is it's kind of like takes a snapshot of the cycle. I'm saying that this is a certain version that there has been changed, and I want to keep track of this change. So I click here, issue a release. I keep notes what I have done. Let's say updated the Ecoinvent processes. This is for me to remember, and also whoever is able to work on this cycle with me. Or reviewers also are able to see this. When you have saved the release, you have two options. Either you click the X to get out of here, or you can actually view the evolution of your releases. And since this cycle has already 3 releases, you can see that due to the updating the Ecoinvent processes, the impact actually grew. And I noticed I've been playing around a lot with these, and many of the energy-related processes have a higher impact now, unless you choose a better alternative. And also remember, if your models are old and you use the old data, when there is a database update, it's worth going through some of your processes, at least the ones that cause the biggest environmental impact, to see if there is newer version. Because, for example, you might have modeled your model with a global process data, but in the new version, there might be based on regions or based on country. And since the global still exists in the new one, it will not tell you that there could be better versions. The system doesn't know. It's you are the one who needs to keep track on that. Could there be a better one? So I recommend to do that. You don't need to do it often, but now and then worth checking your cycles when you have these kind of updates. Okay, so a release. A release is needed to be able to download your reports. It's also needed when you connect your own cycles into your cycles, because that's the trigger to whether the system says that is there any updatable data. So without the release, it says up to date. You make a change, you issue a release, and then wherever your cycle is consumed, it says that there's an update available. Do you want to update it? And then it's up to you to choose yes or no, because you might want to keep a legacy cycle and then you duplicate it and update the new one. I do a lot of that kind of things. I like keeping history. Let me see. Is there any questions so far? I don't see it. Let me peek into LinkedIn just in case. Nope. Good. Or not good. Please ask me questions. But we are gonna continue anyway. Now, let me see. So I mentioned today that we have redesigned the cycle menu. So now it opens downwards. The cycle summary, which is the information about the process. So for example, you can access it here. This has a new look. And you can see the Ecoinvent, you can see the latest version or the release. You can see more information here. And before, the top processes used to be on the top, now it's in the bottom. Then let me see, PDF report I showed. Exactly. And then important things was what you already heard. So we have updated the database. This requires you to update your cycles, what we were just doing a moment ago. Let's say you have already a lot of cycles, like hundreds, because you've been modeling a lot. And if you want us to update all automatically, send us a message. You can either use the in-app chat. I would prefer you to use that. Look, when you click here, help me, it opens the chat and it shows you documentation for searching for help yourself. You can read those. When you click any of these, it opens inside the app. And if you don't find what you're looking for, or as particularly in this case that I'm telling you that to contact us, what you click, either click here, send us a message, or here in the tab, you might have already an open chat, and you click send us a message. And you tell us, can you please update all of our cycles? And then I answer you, and we'll do it for you. So you don't need to go through hundreds of cycles of updating everything. We're able to do that. Okay, now you know. Use the in-app chat. And if for any reason you prefer to email, you can either use my email, heini@earthster.org, or you can use the support@earthster.org. Let me see. I saw a question on LinkedIn. I'm happy about that. Let's see. Robert is asking, for example, this is the case with the process printed wiring board production from Ecoinvent. Oh, then I am reading the continuation here. I experienced a problem when I update the LCIA method from recipe 2016 to IPCC. Some processes seem to change to zero impact. That's an interesting one. Robert, please send an in-app message, and if you're able, put screenshots, or please put screenshots and tell me the number of the cycle. Because really often, or not really often, sometimes there is the cycles metadata might be corrupt. That causes these kind of issues that the impact category doesn't show correctly. And here is where you find the cycle number. What you can do, either give me the whole URL, or just snatch the one says /cycles, the 6 number here. Not sure if you see it well. Let me zoom in. Oh, no, you don't see it any better. This part, you send in that message also, because the more information I have, the easier for us to find what's causing any issues. And that's the case if you ever find any similar type of issues, to tell us as soon as you find them so that we can fix them earlier. Then let me see. Okay. Then Robert was mentioning one that is related to the latest feature updates, that we have a new impact category. If you have a full Ecoinvent license, you see an option that says Other. If you don't have one, what you see is the 5 main impact categories: damage to human health, damage to resource availability, damage to ecosystems, climate change, and water use. Those are the main 5 from Recipe, and what we've seen that those are the most useful for a typical company to see the environmental impact of their products. What I've been showing to you is with climate change. And you just click here, it shows everything. Now, for example, you're seeing the impact in water use. Then, so the IPCC that Robert is mentioning is under Other. You click there, you have a new selection menu, and here you can see many options. But once again, you need a full Ecoinvent license for this. If you don't have one, contact us, we can get you one. Or if you have already one existing, we can activate it for you inside Earthster for free of charge. That's worth utilizing. And the next step, when you want to see an impact category, you just choose, you say IPCC, then you select the actual category that you want to see. And for example, let me see, I want to see the biogenic one. You click on it, click View Impact. Now this takes usually a tiny bit longer, but even this case, it was super fast. And you see your cycle in live mode, which means that you're viewing it and you're not able to edit the information. So when you want to edit, you have to go back to the original tab to be able to edit. And the reason for it, to make sure that it's still as fast as it was before. And you're able to see everything, explore just like a moment ago we did. But otherwise, it would take ages for the numbers to calculate. This way, we make sure that things are nice and snappy. This is the way to see different impact categories. And now what you saw also, so IPCC has new ones compared to what our mappings have. For example, Recipe does not differentiate with biogenic carbon emissions, and now we have that. So we have cool new impact categories. Let me see. We go back here. Okay. One trick that you might have not known. When you click on the Earthster icon here, it takes you to the dashboard view here. And this is one of my workspaces where I have a lot of cycles for demoing purposes. And I have given to almost our whole team view access to it. When you are an admin of a workspace, you are in control. You can decide who gets to edit things, who gets to only view things. And this is one of those workspaces that I gave people only view access because I want them to be able to see my cycles, create a copy, and play around with the data themselves. But I don't want any accidents that I have prepared a cool demo and when the session comes, my cycle is destroyed. So no way. All my team members are getting view access. And this is something that you can utilize in your organization also. The options for workspaces are you can have someone as a viewer. You can have them as an editor. So now, for example, if I make Daniel to be an editor, that means that he can create cycles, delete, edit every single one of them in that workspace, but he's not able to add new people or remove anyone. And if I give him admin rights, he can do everything like me. And I'm going to put it back to viewer. And of course, if you choose remove user, they no longer have access to that workspace. And you just update. And that's it. So, and here, the tiny icons, you can see that who have access. That's why also it's important when people update their pictures in the app in case you're collaborating with your team. Now, I mentioned that this is a workspace. How do you navigate with workspaces? If you have many, you see here on the left side the workspaces panel or thingy. I'm not sure what to call this. When you click on it, it opens the whole list what you have access to. And as you can see, I have a lot. And the way to navigate between them, you just click on the name, it opens the new one, and then you see the content. And you see only the ones that you have access to, at least view rights. You don't see the others. Let's say if Daniel has a workspace where I'm not part of it, I do not see them. And this is important to remember that when you're adding your team members, they need to be added to the workspaces for them to be able to access any of the work. So for any of those situations that you're like, oh, why can't I see the cycles? Probably because you're not part of the workspace. And it's really easy to add. Look, I have these templates. I click on edit. If I would want to add my colleague, I start writing his name. Simo is already inside the organization, so it shows up. I just click his name, and now he's added as a viewer, and then I decide whether I want to keep him as a viewer or not. And viewer rights is a good one for him. But let's imagine you have now a new colleague who is going to start using Earthster. What you can do is invite them straight away to the workspace, which means that they're going to get access to that particular workspace, and they will automatically be added to your organization. So for example, here I could write one of our, Mana is already inside our organization, but this is what you would do. You write their email address, you decide what level access rights they get to the workspace, and then you click invite member. We're not going to do that because he's already part of the workspace, part of the organization. Another place where you add team members is when you go to your subscription settings. You click there, you click users, and here you can invite new people. And here is the part where you keep track who is part of your organization. And as you can see, you can have many, many people to collaborate on. That totally depends on your subscription type, that how many. And we have different we have different subscriptions options that suits your company's need. If there's only one people who needs it, we have cheaper alternatives. If you have a huge team like we do, we have also that kind of versions where you could have even unlimited amount of users. And for that, what I recommend, reach out and I'll get you in contact with Simo and he can tell you more about all these, how to get your own Earthster subscription. Now let me go back here. This is an interesting thing here. Sorry, meanwhile, I was looking for questions. I got distracted. What you see here is that I've created a template based on the greenhouse gas protocol. Whatever the protocol says, I've added in it. I'll show you first the raw version, when you open the cycle, it looks empty, but it's not. It looks empty because it doesn't have any processes, but it's full of bundles and information. Look, if we click into scope 3, you see all the different categories. When we open the drawer itself, you see it the same way. In the info tabs, there's a lot of information about this particular process, this cycle and this bundle, that what type of data you need to add here. Same thing goes to the categories. Look, inside category, information. This is everything I took from the greenhouse gas protocol. And now the best thing is that I have shared it openly inside Earthster. So you can use this as a starting point for your own cycles. And the way to do it is, I'll actually show you. Click documentation. In there, when it opens, just write GHG, click enter. It searches all the articles possible. And then the first one, using other organizations' cycles as a template or starting point. Open that one and follow the instructions, what it does, what it says, what to do. And then you'll end up having the same thing for yourself as a starting point. So the only thing you need to remember is or you can write greenhouse gas protocol or something like that, but with the GHG, you'll find it. Let's go back here. I started drafting a version where I'm actually adding their example cycles, but it's totally not done. For example, under scope 1, there is exchanges, because scope 1 is on-site emissions, and the way you add them in Earthster is what we call exchanges with nature. So in that case, you need to know that how much carbon dioxide you are emitting, and then you add it as a value. And here you can see that I'll show you how to do it. Look, you click add new. It opens a different search than before. This searches only exchanges. And just like before, you can use multiple keywords, synonyms also. So with CO2, it finds also. So you don't have to write carbon dioxide. And now what's important when you're adding an exchange is to check the tag, check the genre, because there's emission to air, but there's also resource to air. And depending which one you need to add, you click one or the other. For example, if I now choose resource to air, that means that I'm capturing CO2. Look, I'm saying that we are capturing 2 kilos of CO2, and then the environmental impact of that is accordingly. We are going to now take this out. We don't want that in there. Let me go back. Exactly. So the main point of this is that you can start your models with bundles only. I really recommend it, especially in cases when you have a complex model and you don't know where to start from. Just create a new cycle, start adding bundles. You start seeing a structure, more or less, what will be the scope of your cycle. Because when you know the scope, then you start actually looking for data. What you can start doing is something similar, actually. Then here, if we go to the scope 3 emissions, here I have started adding different processes. For example, here are some examples. And as you can see, the ones that's saying 1, that's a placeholder. I know that I will need to figure out the value, and we say that, okay, that's $1,000. And these are in dollars because the input itself is based on the USEIO. And that is the functional unit of that database is dollar-based, and you have 4 options now. You have the US dollar 2012 value, the seller and buyer option, and then the one without the date that says only USD is the modern dollars. So right now it would be 2023. Next year it will be the latest one. So that's calculated already. Okay. Any questions? We have about 15 minutes. left. We don't have to use the whole time, but it would be great if I get some questions so that we can focus on what you guys want to learn. And meanwhile, let me see my memo. Oh, yes. Things that I did not show. So this was, so far I've been showing you basic informations about having a model, what you can do inside the models. And an important part of LCA work is probably comparing data. So you want to be able to compare. Let me see if I have in my demos any nice comparisons. What you can do is compare, for example, the cycle you have created yourself. Oh, by the way, a cycle is what we call an LCA model in Earthster. That's our terminology, but it's quite obvious. So you can create a comparison where you're comparing a cycle with, for example, an Ecoinvent process. Here is a good example that there is a computer mouse that we have modeled compared to a pointing device production optical mouse. And that's an Ecoinvent process. And I don't know when this was done, a long time ago. In the settings, you're able to check what are you comparing with what. As you can see, we are using that the computer mouse, I'm comparing 10 years of use with 1 unit. Now, this is a much smarter comparison if I change my functional unit to unit, and I'm comparing 1 computer mouse. And now you can see really, where did I click? I clicked on adding the new reference. Now you see the differences between what the Ecoinvent data says and what my models says. And when you click into it, for example, let's see climate change, you can see the different stages and compare them. And the Ecoinvent model has only production stage. So it's an unfair comparison, but still based on the colors, you know what you're comparing to. And if you click on the stage itself, you compare only that with each other. And this is a really good way of, like, you can create these comparisons for your own products. You have different variations, you create a duplicate, you create all these things and see that like you can even create what if scenarios in a way that what if the material is a different type of plastic, how the impact will look like. And since you have already created a model, it's super easy to create copies and then just change the relevant information, and then you have this. Now, there's one more thing I have time to show you that's coming up. It's called parameters. I have already a model that I've done with parameters. Parameters are basically variables for your cycle. And when you're adding parameters, you need to think that what is in my model that could change, and add parameters for those inputs only. So never add parameters for everything, only for the ones that deserve it. And in this model, what I have here is a packed fruits from, let me show you. So in the scale, we can see what I have. 1 pack of fruits that has 4 portions, and the idea is that it's 250 grams. In the parameters, you see all my variables that I think that is relevant for this cycle. So in the scenario, there is fruits produced in Spain, packed, and where it's produced, shipped to a store, and then I go ahead and take it home. And if you think about this model, the variables, these are the most obvious variables, that how much packaging there is in the box based on the amount of grams of the fruits you have. Then also I was curious to see that what happens if it's apricots, peaches, or mandarins, different fruits. Like, does the environmental impact change based on the fruit types? And of course, there is a really obvious one, is transportation. And this is how it looks when you have added them. And why I want to show a tiny bit about the parameters is that this is now in beta. That means that it's usable, it's done, but it's not yet published because there might be tiny errors that we want to iron out first and then put it out for everyone. So if you want to have access, I give you the link. Let me see here. You can sign up to get beta access. All you need to do is fill out the form. I'm going to put now in LinkedIn. Like this. Doesn't want to send it. No. Okay. I send it after the session. I don't want to hassle now. During the recording, you'll get the link to sign up, and we'll activate it for you. So you will be able to add parameters into your own cycles. Now, the beauty of parameters, like why would you need it? Why? You could just create many versions of your cycle. But the reason you need it is the awesome way of doing scenarios. Look, there's a new button here, scenarios, if you have this feature available. And look what you can do. Now, in this model, I can play around with my variables. So I can see that what if I have, let's see, what happens if I have peaches instead of apricots? I change that, and the model updated. I'm not sure if you saw it. The change was so fast. Peach has a lower environmental impact than apricots. Look, I change it back. It's 95 grams. And peaches had 75. Let's see mandarins. You click the mandarin, and that's 60. Isn't this cool? So with just one click, you're able to see that, ooh, that's the environmental impact. Same thing. What happens if we say it's coming from, so this was from Murcia to Valencia. Let's say it's going all the way to Barcelona. Let's put 600 kilometers. And it updates straight away. And when you have set up your parameters in a way that it has a minimum and a maximum, you can use the sliders instead. For example, if I say, ooh, it's a much bigger fruit pack, then you see also the relationship between that. Suddenly, now the distribution has a much bigger impact than production itself, or sometimes use. And these are based on how you have created the parameters. And of course, what you can do, not only play around with the numbers, but you can add these scenarios to compare. Look, you click here, you name it, or you keep the default name there. So shows all the scenarios. Then we say we want the apricot version. I click add scenario. And the only thing I'm changing again is the peach. Or was our first one that one? Doesn't matter. Let's see. And then when you have added all the scenarios that you want to compare with each other, you just click the button compare. It takes you to a comparison. And now what you're comparing is the scenarios itself. So I didn't have to change the cycle. What I changed is the scenario of the parameter in a way. So it's much faster to do any type of what if scenarios. This is an amazing tool for sales purposes. For example, in a sales meeting, your salesperson is able to say that if you have a packaging and we put a sticker, this is the environmental impact. This is the impact if the box is red or unbleached. And in that moment, the client is able to say, looks good. Let's take the one with the lowest impact. Or I don't care about the impact. We want it red. And then you're able to say, great, here, let's do this and continue with the sales process. And this is a totally new way of giving transparent information of your product's environmental impact. All you need to do is create once the parameters, kind of like make a template out of your product, and then share it inside your organization to be able to use. Of course, they might need a tiny bit of training, but not much. Earthster is really easy to use, and especially easy to learn. That's why even salespeople are more likely to have fun with it, actually. We have 5 minutes left. Let me see if we have any questions. Vikas is asking for the documentation related to the different impact categories. Look, you click on documentation. It opens you the whole documentation page. You could either click around and find it. For example, all the ones related to the impact methods and categories are under LCA methodology and data. You click in there. You can scroll and see all the articles. And for example, here's the IPCC. You click into it. And then there is links to the original source. Then there everything related to how is it impacting inside Earthster, some generic description. And that's it. Another way of doing it is search. For example, you put recipe, you click enter, gives you a lot of options, and you're like, oh, this is the one I wanted to see. And it's there. And if something is missing, you can send an in-app message as that, hey, honey, I can't find the documentation. Can you help me? Can you write me one? And the answer is yes, of course, we can do those. Because sometimes we don't have instructions for everything. And the system is suggesting you where to continue reading. And I recommend using the documentation, especially if you're a new user. Click on the getting started. There's a short introduction. You can just click next, read through, and then you're able to get a quick overview on how to use Earthster. And another thing that you can do is check out the videos. Some of them are here inside the documentation, but what you find them, all of them in YouTube. And especially if you are more visual type, I really recommend the videos because you watch a few minutes and you're like, that's how I do things. And for those who like reading, there is the text versions of everything. Okay, let me see exactly. So I think I answered Vikas's answer. So you find it in the documentation. Another part where you can find it is the same thing. You click help me and you write here, search for help. You write there for example, EF 3.1, and you'll get the same documentation. You click here. The only difference is that now it opens in here. So it's up to your style, whether you like reading things inside the app or in another tab. I myself tend to prefer in another tab. But that's how you find those. And I think I have went through everything I wanted. For any questions, please send a message. We're here to help you. And I would say that's it from my side. As a reminder, so Earthster is an LCA tool to be able to do LCAs at scale, to make models that doesn't cause headache. And if whenever you need something custom made for you, for example, the CSV reports, PDF reports, any type, reach out and I'll connect you with the right people to talk within our organization so you get what you need. And if you don't have a user yet, you can go to earthster.org, check out what we have there, and probably you can book a meeting with our sales and they can get you a trial account, 2 weeks for free, to try out how to use Earthster. But that's it from my side. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for your questions. And if you have anything else, please, you can even write it in the event or remember the in-app chat. And the next session will be in about a month. I don't remember the exact date, but I will also put that in the event comments. The same thing with the form to fill out to get beta access to the parameters. Thank you all and see you next time. Bye bye.